Hello, this is Wmpyr here to talk about the film The Hunted. Okay, so first of all, the title of this movie is a terrible title just because it's so generic, and there's other films that use the same title. So please don't get them confused. This one is the 2003 film starring Tommy Lee Jones and Benicio del Toro. Okay, so this is the movie that I'm talking about. And why am I even talking about this film? Well, when it comes to people wondering what Filipino martial arts is, or what is it that I teach, I feel like this is the best example. Like, you could watch this movie and go, "Oh, I get it. I get it now. That's Filipino martial arts." I just feel like this is the best answer for that. Um, Now, I posted this on Instagram. I don't know, like a few years ago, and telling people, hey, if you're wondering what Filipino martial arts is like, check out this film, The Hunted, 2003. Blah 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 blah. Right? And Professor Brian Frank sent me a direct message, and I don't know if we talked after that. I'm sure we did, but he was like, "Dude, do you know that movie has a lot of problems?" And and I was like, "Really? Could you please tell me about that?" And he was like, "I don't even know where to begin," kind of thing. But yeah, so he was very opposed to the idea, and I really don't disagree with him. It's just that at the end of the day, if there's a better film, by all means, tell me, and I will recommend a better film. But I don't think there is. Now, if you ask Professor Bram Frank, what film do you recommend as far as Filipino martial arts goes, I don't know what he'll say. He might say Arte Grande, which is also called Exposure. This is 1991 film starring Peter Coyote. Okay, so it's called A Grande Arte, also known as Exposure, and it's an amazing, amazing movie. And yeah, that is a phenomenal movie. Uh, the only problem is it's rare, it's hard to find, so I can't recommend that to people. But if that is the film that Professor Bram Frank recommends, I get it. I 100% understand where he's coming from, because back in the day when I saw this film, I remember being blown away by it, and I was like, "That's what I do." That's what I was training FMA at the time, 1990, and when I saw the movie, I was like, "That is like I do this. We do the exact same." And I didn't in the movie. It's not called FMA. It's not called Escrima, Kali, or Arnis at all. In fact, it had a completely different name, Percept. So perforate and sever. And so I was like, "Oh, unfortunately, it's a different style." But I didn't know that the choreographer was a FMA guy. So what they're doing is FMA. But without knowing that, I was like, "This is what I do," you know. I remember being super excited about that. But yeah, um, yeah. Unfortunately, the movie is just so rare. So and even if you compare the two side by side, The Hunted is a Hollywood, like, summer blockbuster action type of film. It's the budget is not the same. It's a massive budget. I'm not saying that it's a better film, but I mean, you got Tommy Lee Jones, you got Benicio del Toro. The director is William Friedkin, the guy that did The Exorcist. So you got a legendary director. I, you know what I mean? It's just not in the same league. Whereas I remember when Arte Grande came out, I saw it on TV, like on Cinemax or something, and it was on avant-garde cinema type of thing. So it was treated like a foreign film. I don't even know if it really opened nationwide in theaters. I don't think so. So it was treated like a foreign film because it kind of is, totally is, in some ways, um, very very foreign. 90% of the film, if not 100% of the film, no, 90% takes place in Brazil. You, you know, uh, so anyway, yeah, compare that to, once again, The Hunted, which is this is your typical Hollywood class film. So yeah, I have to go to The Hunted to recommend people. Now, yes, it does have a host of problems. That being said, I do like the movie. I do enjoy it. There's the one major gripe maybe that I had with it is I remember at the time my student Kevin, he also had a problem with this one scene, which was the character Benicio del Toro's character uh, frickin' forges a knife like right there. Yeah, he he treats it. It's like in the wilderness. It's like it wasn't wilderness, but it was pretty much like that. And they were out there in nowhere land kind of thing. And it's like no, no, that's no. And also not at that. Yeah, just to get there would be crazy. And I mean to get the heat hot enough in that short amount of time is just no, dude. You know. And so that was the one scene really. As far as the fight scenes go, the choreography is amazing. The choreography was done by the Saya Kali people. So there's a bunch of Filipino martial arts techniques in the movie. Tons of techniques. Do I think the choreography is realistic? No, absolutely not. I don't think it's even close to reality. However, um, do you get the feel of reality in a way? I think so. That if you fought with a knife, that the knife is devastating. You get that from this movie. And then if you actually fought someone knife to knife, that you're both going to be messed up. I think you also get that from this film. So in both of those things is very realistic in regards to both of those things. Now, the actual combat, the way it turns out, I feel like the final fight in Arte Grande against the boss, the guy that taught Hermes and Mandrake go at it. That scene to me is way more realistic than this one, in my opinion, than any of the scenes shown in The Hunted. But that's just my opinion, you know. But the fact that they're using actual Filipino martial arts techniques, that made me happy. That was awesome. Watching it, I was like, oh, look at that technique. Oh, look at this technique. Oh, look at that. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. Okay, so in that sense, is it legit Filipino martial arts? Yes, to me, it is legit Filipino martial arts. Um, Now, as far as Saya Kali, to me, I'm just viewing it as a Filipino martial arts person looking at not so much Saya Kali, but looking at as Filipino martial arts. But as far as Saya Kali goes, I am just not uh, the person to be really talking about it. So I don't know. Is there you know political problems with that group and the rest of the FMA community? I'm not even in the FMA community, so I couldn't tell you. But from what I heard, there is. I don't know what caused it. I'm not here to gossip. I don't care. If I did care, I would look it up, but I really don't care about all that. I'm not saying that they're right or they're good or any. I just, if there's problems, there's problems. You know, it is what it is. I'm not saying that that makes it fine. I'm just saying that I'm not involved in that. I don't want to be. And then I'm not trying to play neutral. I'm just saying I'm really not in position to be talking about it. So, but I'm just viewing it as FMA. There's FMA in a Hollywood level film, and that reaches people, But for the mass, the regular people watching this, if you watch this movie and you go, oh, what is that knife style that they're using to battle each other? I want to learn that. Oh, it's FMA? Okay, I want to learn FMA. Then great. I think that's awesome. But if you watch that and go, what style is that? It's Sayakali? Okay, I want to learn Sayakali because that's the best knife style. That's the wrong road, in my opinion. Yeah. To me, that's not the right. That's not a good mentality. You're impressed with it. You're interested. That's fine, But yeah. So my recommendation is view it as a FMA film, not as a Sayakali film. Just my opinion. Okay. I think you'll be much safer that way. And then the knife. I got to talk about the knife, the tracker knife. The tracker knife is almost like steals the show here in this movie, or should I say, it does steal the show. It's featured a lot, and yeah, you go, whoa, and it's a unique looking knife, and unfortunately, like a lot of people credit that as a Tom Brown Jr. design. From my understanding, Tom Brown Jr. stole the design, the idea from Rob Roussan. So that is the true designer. Okay, that is the true designer. So, I don't think that's very cool at all if that is the case, and from what I can tell, I'm inclined to believe Rob Roussan. So Tom Brown Jr., I've never met the guy, but it sounds like someone that I do not want to meet. Not because I'm scared of the guy, but because if you are someone like that, with, you have those kinds of morals where you're going to steal someone else's designs and take all the credit for it, then you're not the type of person that I want to be around. So, I know those are harsh words, but from what I can tell, that's what has happened, But yeah, so take that for what you will. So that being said, what do I think of the knife? When the movie came out, yeah, I think a lot of people thought that was a FMA knife. It's not. It is a bushcraft knife. And so really, I think, Professor Brian Frank probably would agree with me, is this movie, they should have used one of his knives, Professor Brian Frank's knives. Of course he's going to agree with that. But I feel like, in Filipino martial arts, for the longest time, if you said, what's the FMA knife? It would have been the Bali song, from my understanding. That's their knife. But it became banned all over the world. So I think that kind of tells you how impressive that knife was, and how impressive Filipino knife skills were, that it became banned all over the world, that it got picked up by, people of certain characters, and had a really bad reputation, and it got banned. So then I think the Filipino attitude, and for someone that's been training in Filipino martial arts for a long time now, for decades and decades, I can tell you that their attitude about things is very, very lax. You know, it's an island country, so that I could just see a lot of the people just chilling in the beach. You know, and they're very easygoing, and they're very adaptable. They have to be, being on an island, and 7,000 over 7,000 islands in the Philippines, and they're very, very good at guerrilla warfare because of that adaptability, in my opinion. And so their attitude was, oh, okay, the balisong is banned all over the world now. Okay, well, whatever, we don't care. We'll use any knife. I think that was their attitude, and because of that, unfortunately, it was like, well, then what's your knife? There's no longer a Filipino knife. There are, but nothing like when you think of Indonesian silat. What one of their knives is the karambit by far. It is, it is like a trademark. Well, the Filipinos lost that because it should have been the balisong, in my opinion, and they lost that. But then you had guys that created knives that were FMA people like Professor Bram Frank. And out of all of those people, probably, the grandfather of them all is Professor Bram Frank. So it would have made sense to have his knife in the film The Hunted instead of the tracker knife. That would have been pretty cool. But yeah. Unfortunately, it wasn't. It was the tracker knife. I got nothing against the tracker knife. In my opinion, Rob Rasson is a genius. Is a genius designing that knife. He basically made like a Swiss Army knife, like a jack of all trades type of knife for survival, bushcraft. Wilderness survival, WSK, wilderness survival knife is what it's called. Yeah, the tracker knife. I feel like he's a genius and he accomplished that. And if I were to design a knife, I would I would copy his idea, not his design, but his idea. I would use that same idea of, let me get a knife where I could do a bunch of different Filipino martial arts techniques, that the knife is specifically built for multiple techniques, just like the tracker knife is specifically designed for multiple bushcraft techniques. So I would do that. And I feel like, once again, he is a genius. He wanted to lighten the load. And when you go out there in the wilderness, if you're not a con artist and you really do that, then you know how important weight is when you're out there. And so he was trying to make that as efficient as possible for certain types of quests, where you go on certain tasks, and obviously it's not heavy duty, and for something like that you want to be as light as possible, and so he designed that knife, and it makes sense. Once again, I do think he's a genius. When you compare the tracker knife to the Rambo knife, I think it's very interesting. The Rambo knife had a very, very strong impact on me, and I believe that is the movie that started my love for knives, or that is what started my love for knives, period, was First Blood, that movie. I saw it as a kid in the 80s, and yeah, that started that for me. So that knife will always hold a special place in my heart, but the tracker knife, in some ways, I do feel that it is the modern evolution, but it's just, you can't compare. They're just so different from each other. Yeah, I mean, with a Rambo knife, you can really, really, really stab with that knife. It's devastating stabbing type stuff. But I mean, you could still cut, but look at it. Whereas to the tracker knife is not going to stab as great as a Rambo knife. Just look at the shape. It's not meant for that. So it's definitely more of a chopper. So then in most bushcraft survival, which one are you going to be doing more? Are you going to be stabbing things or are you going to be chopping things? At the end of the day, I know I'm generalizing it like crazy. And in real life, it probably depends on the situation, what's happening, all that kind of stuff, where you're at, all that. But I have a feeling at the end of the day, chopping is more of a factor. So in that sense, I do feel like it is more of a modern evolution in that sense. It is evolutionary higher. Of course, it came later too, but yeah. But that doesn't mean I don't like the Rambo knife. So please, don't mistake that. and just as I compared the two knives, you can compare the two films, First Blood with The Hunted. It, to me, has a lot of similarities, and both are kind of like the modern day Frankenstein's Frankenstein story, which is a sad story. It is a sad, sad story, But the things that were not accomplished in First Blood, in Rambo 1, the things that I wanted to see, The Hunted shows you. So I'm greatly impressed with that. Like, for example, one of the things was, I'm talking about the knife. And when I saw First Blood, it was an amazing movie. They showed the knife. I was blown away by the knife. And I remember thinking, I wish he used the knife even more. Because that knife was so cool, right? And guess what? The Hunted, to me, does that. It shows the knife even more than First Blood. So, because they really center around that. Yeah. So that's one thing they did. It's almost like they granted my wish. I wanted to see a movie where, basically the special forces guy is going to use the knife more than he did in Rambo 1, and he does. The other one was, I know you kind of don't want to see this, but you totally do actually, is the teacher versus the student. So we're talking about Colonel Troutman versus Rambo. We didn't get to see that. Now, you don't want to see that because, they're friends. But at the same time, Troutman does say, if I need to, I will. I will put him out. If he's that far gone out. If he's that far gone, I will. I will put him away. And that's where Teasel's like, where do you guys come from? What the hell's wrong with you, kind of thing. Knowing that Troutman trained Rambo. So it's like his son in a way. That famous scene where he goes, God didn't make Rambo, I did. That whole scene, and then later when they're talking in the bar. And so we don't get to see that in the first film. Maybe for the better, because at the end, Troutman just, he goes, come on, Rambo, let's go home. And he takes him home, kind of thing. And that was you want to see that. But in this film, no. They battle 3 big times. And that final battle is something else. But, the first is the encounter. That's also crazy intense. And then the middle battle involves the city. And then, so the first two are, the first and the last are back in the wilderness, Yeah. Did they encounter a second time? No, I'm thinking it was more Benicio del Toro battling against the cops and stuff. So yeah, okay. So they only battled twice, maybe. My bad. But anyway, yeah. They go at it all the way, and you get to see that. So, yeah, that was one that you get to see, and the other thing was, we never got to see Rambo back in the day in Vietnam. Yes, we get to see Rambo 2. In Rambo 2, he goes back to Vietnam, but we don't see him back what it was like in the Vietnam days, the Vietnam War days, right? We don't get to see that. They only show a flashback of him being captured and tortured, but we don't see him battling, right? Whereas in The Hunted, we get to see Benicio's character, Aaron Hallam. He is there on a mission, and you get to see the kind of you see him right there, where he, I think it was in Kosovo, or it was in one of the Eastern European wars going on, genocide going on. I think he was right there, and you see him full blown, you know, pulling off a mission, and I believe the movie started that way, and it's intense, yeah. And yeah, so you actually get to see that, and it's like, wow, wow. So yeah, those are the three things that when I saw Rambo, I kind of wanted to see, but I didn't get to. And this film does that for you. So I'm even though it's very similar, it does go in this different direction. So it kind of lets you see things that maybe you would have wanted to have seen, or you were missing in Rambo. So in a way, it's almost like an unofficial sequel. But yeah, so like I said, I really like First Blood a lot. So this movie to me is like a cousin, right? So uh, if you like First Blood, chances are you might enjoy this. You don't even have to watch it for FMA. You're gonna enjoy this just because it's such a solid film. Directed by uh, legendary William Friedkin, who did The Exorcist. And you're getting two huge names, Tommy Lee Jones and Benicio del Toro, and Hollywood level budget and everything. So now compared to other Hollywood films, you may just think, it's okay or whatever. But yeah, for me, it was a treat to get to see this, and this is why I understand there's a lot of problems with this film. They're showing Filipino martial arts, and we don't see any stick training. Um, but yeah, that's, I don't know. I still feel like this is the best answer to introduce people to Filipino martial arts. Yeah, when you going to take that journey in there, and boy, it is a wild journey. And for those of you that do decide to take it, or you're in the middle of the journey, I hope you're having a ton of fun, because for me, I'm in it. It's been over 35 years, and it's just, honestly, it's getting only more fun, is all I could tell you. So I hope your journey is fun as well. So anyway, that's it for now. Thank you for viewing, and take care, folks.